Daf Sadi Dalet Amid Aleph, 5 lines from the top, Ton Rabban. Continuing on with discussion of someone who is B'derech HaChaika. Ton Rabban Haya Omer Chutz L'Meidin. If a person was on a journey, it was Yudalid, it was the afternoon, it was after Chatzos and Yudalid ben Nisan, and he was on a journey, he was on the road, he was far away from Yerushalayim, he was beyond Moedian, but he would be able to come to Yerushalayim on time. If he took horses or mules and ride on them, he would be able to reach it on time. If he doesn't, you might think he'd be chayiv koros for not bringing the korban pesach. Where is the chayiv koros if a person was not on a road, was not on a distant road? But this person was on a distant road, so even though theoretically he could get there on time, but Lamaisa, he was on the distant road, and the fact was he was on the road, therefore he's potter. But conversely, if he was lifnei min Medin, meaning he was closer to Yerushalayim, then but however, he cannot reach in time. He cannot reach the Azor on time because of the traffic, because which the camels and the wagons were delaying him. He couldn't. So meaning he had his household, he had his family, he had his children on the wagons, and because of all of the what he had to deal with the children and to transport them, he couldn't get there on time. You might think he won't be chayiv in such a case. Talmud loymar, the pasuk says over derech loyhoya. The Torah says if he was not on a distant road and he does not do the korban pesach, he's chayiv koros. And this person was not on a distant road. He was lifnei min Moedian. Now, even though there was the children, the wagons, etc., the family that are delaying him, but as Rashi points out, he says that he was not an onus because he should have left him and come on his own and come quickly, and he could have made it to the Azora, so therefore he is chayiv koros in such a case. Omar Rava says, Shisa alfi parasa have alma. The sun, as it passes over the world, is a distance of 6,000 parsois. V'sumcha de rakia alfa parsa, and the thickness of the rakia is 1,000 parsois. How do we come to that? Chada Gemara, Chada Svara. One is a Gemara, is a Mesorah, and one is a Svara. So the Svara is as follows. Savra la ki ha-damar Rav Yechanan, he holds, or like Rav Yechanan says, like we learned previously, how much, what's the distance does an average person travel in a day? As for parsois, 10 parsois, which is 40 mil. So me'alois shachvad hanetz achama chamisha milan. From alois till netz achama till the sunrise, a person walks 5 milan. Mishkias chama ad tzetz acham chamisha milan. And similarly, from Shkia, from sunset to Tzetz Chavim, also a person can walk 5 milan. Now, from sunset to Tzetz Chavim, well, at Shkia you can still see the sun. By Tzetz Chavim you can no longer see the sun. So that means it's traveling through the thickness of the Rakia between that period of time. And that's a distance where a person can walk 5 milan. So you see the thickness of the rakia is the time it takes a person to walk 5 milan. And 5 milan compared to the distance of the day between Netz and Shkia, which is 30 milan, is 5 out of 30, 5 is a sixth of 30. So therefore, if you have a distance of 5 milan that he can walk between that time, and the distance of 30, that's a ratio 1 to 6. If therefore the Shisa Alpha Parsa Hava Alma, that the world is, it travels a distance of 6,000 parsois, that means the Rakia, the thickness of the Rakia is a sixth of that, which is a 1,000 parsois. Which is a sixth of the thickness of the day, and therefore it is a 1,000 parsois. Meisvei, the Gemara asks the kasha on Rava from the following. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Oy v'shel rakia echad me'asar b'yim." the thickness of the rakia is 1/10 of the day. It's 1/10 of the sun's travel during the day. What's the average distance a person can walk during the day? 10 parsois. It's 10 parsois, meaning 40 mil. Now here this is different when we learned before, when Rava said before, because here we're saying the walking, we can walk from Alois until Netzachama is only 4 million. And and similarly from Shkia until Tseis, until the stars come out, is also only 4 million. So therefore it's 4 and 4 is 8, and subtract that from 40 means that the distance during the day is 32. Nim says, Oivya shel rakia echad me'asar. So therefore it turns out that the thickness of the rakia, of the firmament, is 1/10 of the travel during the day. The entire travel during the day is, the entire compass of the day is 40 million, and the distance between from Shkia until Tseis, meaning where it travels through the rakia, is 1/10. So Tiyufta Derava Tiyufta, and it's a Tiyufta Derava, and De'ula Tiyufta, and also Te'ula. Leimatav Tiyufta Rav Yochanan, should we say that this Braisa also is a Tiyufta Rav Yochanan? Gemara says, Amar Lach, no. Ana Lam Beyamam Mahudam. Rav Yochanan would say that's not a kashmir. I mean, Rav Yochanan would say that all I said was that a person walks, the average amount he walks during the day is 40 million. That's his statement, and not the part that was mentioned, that how far he travels from Alois to Netz or from Shkia to Tseis. That he didn't mention. That they assumed, the Talmidim assumed that. But all he said was that the entire distance during the day is 40. Rabbanan hu the Katoy, and the Rabbanan made a mistake. Because when they calculated how much a person walks from Alois to Netz, and they said it's 5, but they miscalculated because people travel already from before Alois. They start off earlier, so that's why there's 5. And also when they calculated from Shkia until Tseis, they also miscalculated, and because they travel slightly after Tseis, so that's why it's 5. But Rav Yochanan says, I said there's 40 million during the day. I didn't break it down between how much he walks from Alois to Netz or from Shkia to Tseis. That's where the Talmidim, they made the mistake. Let's say it should also be a kasha of Chanina, because he calculated the distance from Alois to Netz as 5 million based on the pasuk by Light and Stein. Gemara says, Light. It's not a kasha on Rabbi Chanina, Vaya'itzu Shai, because there that it says that he went from Stein to Tzayar, and he said, Rabbi Chanina said that was 5 million. Yeah, because over there the pasuk says Vaya'itzu, they hurried Light. They hurried him along, and therefore the average amount that you can walk from Alois to Netz is only 4. But there is Vaya'itzu, so they were able to go 5. Now, Rama also said that the compass of the sun across the world is 6,000 parsecs. Now, the Gemara is going to ask a kasha on that as well. However, before we come to that, it's important to note that this is Nagei Halacha. This segment of this Gemara is Nagei Halacha, because we're saying over here that from Shkia until Tseis is 4 milan. Now, the distance of a mil is either it's a time that it takes to walk 22.5 minutes, and that's Rashi Shita, or 18 minutes. Now, from there we get, halacha that those who follow Rabbeinu Tam, so you have that Shabbos is over either 72 minutes after Shkia, that's 4 milan times 18, or the ones that go with Rashi Shita or Machma even more, you have 90 minutes, because Rashi learns that it's 22.5 minutes is the amount of a mil that it takes to walk a mil. Now, our Gemara says that there are 4 million from Shkia to Tseis. Well, that would seem to be consistent with what Rabbeinu Tam says, and therefore you have the 4 million, 72 minutes or 90 minutes. However, the Gemara in Shabbos says that it's 3/4 of a mil. that the distance is 3/4 of a mil. So therefore, there's a machlokes how to interpret it. Rabbeinu Tam's approach is that there are two shkiyas. The shkiya that's mentioned in the Gemara on Shabbos is from after the first shkiya, when the sun begins to set, 3.5 mil later. Then from that point starts that the period of the Sofek, the period of Sofek of Ben Hashmashos. From that period of Ben Hashmashos till the time that the sun passes through the Rakia is 3/4 of a mil later, and which is 4 milin after the first shkia. And that's when it's already Tzeis Kochavim, where it's already Motzei Shabbos. So our Gemara is talking about the time that the sun after Shkia, it passes through the Rakia, and it completely rises behind the Rakia, and it rises behind it, and therefore it's completely passed through the Rakia. That's why it's 4 milin. The Gemara in Shabbos talks about not the passage of the sun and the thickness of the Rakia, it's talking about Tzeis Kochavim, which means from the Ben Hashmashos, which is from 3.25 milin from the first Shkia, it's Ben Hashmashos. From there, 3/4 of a mil later is Motzei Shabbos. That's Rabbeinu Tam's approach. Others have a different approach to it. The Goinim have a different approach in it. They say that the Gemara in Shabbos is talking about from Shkia, there's no two Shkias, it's from Shkia until the 3/4 of a mil later, then it's considered Tzeis Kochavim. What our Gemara and the Gemara in Shabbos mentions where 3 middle-sized stars appear in the Rakia, they're visible in the Rakia. Our Gemara is not talking about when it is a Motzei Shabbos or when it's Tzeis Kochavim. Our Gemara is talking when the sun passes completely through the Rakia, meaning where it's not visible at all, it's totally dark, and you can see even small stars. That is a different criteria, and that's 4 milin. But as far as Tzeis, they hold it's 3/4 of a mil. So now, coming back to the other point that Rava said, that the compass of the sun across the world is 6,000 parsos. Tashma Mitzrayim hi arbamea is parsa. The area of Mitzrayim is 400 parsos by 400 parsos. Mitzrayim echad mishishim b'kush, and Mitzrayim is only 1/60th of the size of Kush. V'kush echad mishishim b'oilam, and Kush is only 1/60th of the world. V'oilam echad mishishim b'gan, and the world is only 1/60th of the Gan. V'gan echad mishishim b'Eden, and the Gan is only 1/60th of Eden. V'Eden echad mishishim b'Gehenna, and that's only 1/60th the size of Gehenna. Nimsa kolam kula. So Gehenna is so much bigger that the size of the whole world and the entire world is only like the lid on the covering of a pot. The pot is huge and the lid is just small. It's a small covering, and that's the entire world relative to the Gehenna. So to Yufta, now you see that the world is 60 times 60 as the size of Mitzrayim, and therefore it's much, much larger than 6,000 parsos. So it's a tiyufta to Rava. Tashma, let's learn from this brayso, the Tana of the Be'alio, Rabbi Nosanoim, Kol HaYishuv Kulu Tachas Kaycha V'Echad Yosh. All of civilization is under one star. That the size of it fits under one star. If a person is standing, he looks up and he looks at the star, he'll see the star above him. If he walks to the east, it's still above him. And if he walks in all 4 directions, the star is still above him. So So that means that all of the Yishuv civilization, if it's under one star. So, and there are many stars in the sky. So therefore, it has to be that the world is much larger than 6,000 parsos. Now, Rava said that the sun travels only 6,000 parsois, and when it travels through the compass of the world. So Tashma, let's bring a kasha from the following. Egla, the constellation of Egla, Taurus, is B'tzofan, is in the north, Va'akra, Bedarm, and Scorpio is in the south. V'chol Yishuv Kuleinu Yashvel Bein Egla Lakrav, and the entire civilization is between these two constellations. V'chol Yishuv Kula Eina Haive El Shachas B'yayim, and the sun passes in 1 hour passes through all the civilization. The sun doesn't enter the civilization only for 1 hour. On this 5th hour of the day, so the sun is in the east. Now, that's the 5th hour of the day. It passes through that, and it passes over to the other side, to the west. So this is the 5th hour before noon. And then on the 7th hour, it's already on past noon, it's on to the other side, it's to the west. Now, during that 1 hour between the half of the 6th hour, meaning a half hour before noon, and the half hour after noon, that through that 1 hour, the half hour before noon and after, then the sun passes from east to west. So therefore, and you see that the sun during that period of time is directly overhead, and then it passes through to the other side. So therefore, with the traveling of the compass of the earth, it's 12 times the amount of civilization. Since it passes through the entire civilization during that 1 hour, there's 12 hours in the day, shows money ice, it's 12 times civilization. That's another kasha. Tashma, let's bring a kasha from the following. What Baskal did answer to the Russian Nebuchadnezzar? How did it answer him? He was a terrible Russian, Balgaiva, and he said, I will rise on top of the clouds, and I'll be like, he said he'll be like the Elyon, like the Rabbeinu Shalom. He thought he was a god. Yasabaskal Vamralai, Rasha ben Benaishal Nimrod, the Rasha descendant of Nimrod, who was a Rasha Shehimid Eskolam Kula Allah B'Malchusa, who caused the whole world to rebel against me when he was ruling over the world. So you similarly a descendant of Nimrod. Shalom, you are such a Balgai, and you are boasting so much. What is the life of a man? An average 70 years. Shalom, and even if he has strength, he lives 80 years. So how much is that already? So and on that you're boasting? From the distance to walk from the Aretz to Rakia is a journey of 500 years. And the thickness of the Rakia is 500 years. And between each of the Rakiyas, the Shiva Rakiyas, between each one is another 500 years. And so too between each of the 7 ones. So Kol Rakia, so we say Bein Rakia Rakiyas Chomesh Me'eshana. Between each one of the Rakiyas is a distance of 500 years, and between each of the 7 is 500 years. So the distance between the Aretz and to the Rakia to Rabbeinu Shalom is so far, and you live only 70, 80 years, and you're saying that you're the Damal Elyon. But your answer, Ach El Sheol Turad Al Yark Sebor. You're going to be lowered down to the Sheol, to the depths, to Gehenna. So Al Kolpanim, in any event, what you do see from over here, that the distance and the Rakia is far, far, far greater than Rava's calculation. Tiyufta, it's a Tiyufta.